Earlier this week, we heard about a new law in Swaziland that bans witches from flying on their broomsticks above 150 meters. Now, if your reaction was anything like ours, you're probably laughing right now. How could you set an arbitrary limit on something that just simply doesn't happen at all? How do you enforce the law? But when we began to think about witchcraft in Africa, it is in fact a serious problem. A leaked diplomatic cable from WikiLeaks release Cablegate showed that King Mswati of Swaziland is obsessed with witchcraft, and it could be a reason for why the economy there is failing so badly. So it doesn't just happen out in the rural areas. Belief in witchcraft goes right to the top. Belief in witchcraft also can affect people's health. In Swaziland, there was a program to have men circumcised because there is some evidence to suggest that circumcision can reduce the rate of HIV infection by up to 66%. But men refused to have this done because they were worried about their hoods ending up in the hands of witch doctors who hunt out body parts for their witchcraft. Then there's the very real problem of violence against those who have been accused of witchcraft and the harvesting of body parts. There have been some horrific cases in Kenya where people accused of witchcraft were beaten with sticks and burned alive.
Kukatwa mapanga kwa imani za kishirikina.
Then there are cases in Swaziland and Tanzania and other countries in which albinos have been attacked by groups of people harvesting body parts. This boy had 3 fingers removed, and there's been other incidents which have resulted in death. Albinos are a specific target because of a widespread belief that charms made from their body parts bring good fortune and prosperity. It's also a major problem in Ghana, where elderly women are usually the targets. So we spoke to an author of a report on witchcraft in Ghana about the issue there.
I would say that most of the population probably believe in witchcraft. Not everybody acts on that belief, of course. The problem is when people actually start accusing women of being witches, and then what happens to them is the real problem. Psychologists look into it and of course say, if something goes wrong with someone, if they become ill or if a family member, a child dies, psychologically we want to blame someone for it. We want to be able to explain it to ourselves, we want to understand it. And in Ghana and other places in Africa it comes out as, oh, well, it must have been a witch that did this. It's usually women who are elderly, possibly because they're seen as less useful to society. Very often it's widows. And it can be any kind of accusation, it can be something like, you cursed me, I'm unlucky, or I saw you in my dream and you were a witch. Last year a woman was set on fire in Ghana and killed because she was accused of being a witch. There have been women who've been beaten up and forced to flee, kind of forced to run with nothing, basically just the clothes on their backs. The witch camps are quite a phenomenon sort of with Ghana. Basically what happens is that people think that once the women are inside these camps, and they're around 5 or 6 camps kind of clustered around northern Ghana, they think that once they're in these camps, they're kind of made safe. They can't practice their powers anymore. You don't end up in a witch camp unless you've been chased there. I mean, nobody wants to live in a camp which is not your home, which is very sort of basic facilities. The numbers have varied all the time. I think at the moment we think there are about 1,500. Some of them have been there for as long as 40 years. Some of them are never able to go home. Actually, staff travel to the villages. They try and talk to the community and say, look, this woman isn't a witch. She's a widow. She doesn't have any of these powers that you think. It's quite a long process. Obviously, re-educating people on this doesn't happen overnight.
We want to hear your thoughts about witchcraft in Africa. If you want to learn more, there's a link to the ActionAid report in the description. There's also a link through to a full film about the problem of albino persecution in Africa. As ever, click subscribe if you haven't already. Check out some of our other videos and leave us your comments. We'll see you guys again next time.